Volkswagen has sold an electric car before, but you can consider this new ID.4 as their first fully baked EV. For one, it was designed to be a battery electric vehicle right from the very start. Secondly, its 250 miles of driving range doubles that of the discontinued e-Golf. And lastly, it's a compact SUV with available all-wheel drive, putting it right in the very heart of the hottest selling segment. So the ID.4 is ready for prime time, and it's the genesis of VW's all-electric aspirations.
It's been nearly 5 years since VW revealed the ID electric concept car, and this is the first tangible fruit of their labors. The ID sub-brand is VW's name for a family of electric cars that, at least here in the US, is expected to spawn 2 new models over the next 3 years. It's built upon a dedicated electric vehicle platform that VW calls modular electric drive, which essentially gives them one basis for every EV going forward. It closely possesses the passenger volume of VW's own Tiguan, just in a smaller wrapper, benefiting from the highly efficient EV packaging. And it feels wide inside, with adult-friendly and nicely sculpted rear seats, and a foot-activated hatch that opens to more standard cargo room than VW's new Taos compact SUV. With an agreeable lift-over height, split-fold rear seats, and adjustable cargo floor that can be lowered for a little more space or left as is to stow the charge cable, the ID.4 presents itself as a versatile errand companion with which owners will quickly connect. So here are the vitals. The ID.4 is rear-wheel drive, which, at least for the time being, makes it fairly unique. Combined with a lower center of gravity and near 50-50 weight distribution based upon the battery's placement in the floor, it drives with a pleasing nimbleness. The driving range is 250 miles, and the highly efficient drive motor located above the rear axle produces 201 horsepower and, what makes every EV so sweet, 229 pound-feet of instantaneous torque. It's the first thing you notice when driving an electric, and it's what hooks you to never wanting to go back to gas. Fast charging comes free for the first 3 years at VW-funded Electrify America chargers, and if that's how you choose to juice up, that's a big savings. Otherwise, plugging in here, for example, would have cost me about $30 for the 50 minutes it took to recharge from 18 to 90% at 125 kilowatts. You can also use the omnipresent free Level 2 chargers, or even have one installed in your garage, which recharges a fully depleted battery in as little as 7.5 hours. And lastly, a standard household outlet can also do the job as long as you're in no hurry, about 2 days. And a thermal management system for the battery should help minimize range loss in extreme temps. Now, the car I have is the ID.4 First Edition, and it's priced at $45,190, including destination. But before you run down to your VW dealer, you should know that it's already sold out. However, you can still build and reserve the ID.4 Pro online, which is priced at $4,000 less. And if it's an all-wheel drive ID.4 you're after, those are coming later this year, with a $3,680 premium attached. You can lease an ID.4 for $379 a month, and all trims qualify for the $7,500 federal tax credit.
So guess what you don't have to do when you get into the ID.4? You don't have to start the vehicle. That's right. It recognizes that I'm here and I'm already set to drive. Ditto for when you exit the vehicle, the ID.4 just shuts off. So one less thing you have to worry about. Other futuristic attributes of this really neat interior include this shifter, which you turn forward for drive, backwards for reverse, and then a little press here at the end for park. There are virtually no buttons in here. Everything is pretty much touch activated. And then you have this brand new infotainment system that recognizes natural voice commands. It's taking me a little while to get to learn everything about it, and there are certain things that I like, other things not so much. But if you're shopping for an EV and you don't want it to be like just any other car, the ID.4 will certainly impress.
The white interior accents of this first edition are standout awesome, and the cabin is complemented by a minimalist design. There aren't even a set of switches for the rear windows up here. You just touch this space to toggle back and forth. There's an enormous glass roof with sunshade that, again, just adds to that modern feel, though I have noticed that even when it's closed, it tends to get pretty warm in here. The little 5-inch cockpit attached to the steering wheel really doesn't display too much, so it's over here where the good stuff resides. Just say, "Hello, ID," and you can start speaking naturally to the system for all kinds of things.
Hey, ID.
How can I help you?
I'm warm.
Sure, cooling now.
Even the words used on the screen are less formal, like cool feet or warm hands for the climate controls, and saying goodbye at the end and reminding you to check for things like your cell phone, which might be on the wireless charge pad in the center console. The ID.4 also supports wireless phone projection, but be aware that all of the USB ports are the small Type-C kind. The graphics are sharp, the information deep, but some of the audio-related controls are not as simple as they could be. If you're a channel surfer, the layout is pretty unfriendly. This screen also supports gesture control, but I've had very little luck with that so far. I also love the light bar that extends along the cowl, lighting up in accordance with changes and selections, as well as the direction you should be turning when using navigation. The nighttime welcome lighting and multiple ambient lighting patterns also foster the "oh wow" impression. It looks great. Now, the lack of buttons can be a little annoying at times, but there are a couple of things you can press off-screen, like the drive modes, for instance, which range from Eco to Sport, even affecting the suspension, which is always very compliant. And look at this rarity. Not only does this car have a height-adjustable passenger seat, but there are also memory settings on both sides. Throw in some massaging lumbar, and you've got yourself very comfortable places to sit. And the floor in the back is completely flat, so this is a true 5-seater when needed.
I am really impressed with this car. Now, there is a little bit of a learning curve at the beginning, but now here on day 6, I am completely comfortable with all of the controls. And it drives great too. I mean, you've got that immediate power you expect from an EV and a refined level of comfort and handling. It's very roomy and it's also very quiet. I mean, I feel like I could drive this car forever and not get tired. You've got VW's signature squared off windshield for excellent forward visibility and these really comfortable seats. Now, I am surprised a little bit about the lack of one-pedal driving. That's something you come to expect from EVs, much like my Kona electric, but that's okay. It drives more like a regular car. Now, you can shift into different drive modes and use the brake pedal less, like in Sport, but I find those modes to be a little too aggressive. But that being said, this is a superb job by Volkswagen at a very palatable price.
Speaking of my Kona, which has a nearly identical range to this, with nearly 300 pound-feet of torque on tap, I could smoke this ID.4 off the line, but still, the VW is sufficiently quick and can tow 2,200 pounds, something the Hyundai can't do at all. I'm also jealous of this roof rack, which I can't get on my Kona EV. As far as driver assistance, there's no autonomous driving like the concept car previewed, at least not yet, but there is adaptive cruise control with lane assist among many other safety features as part of IQ.DRIVE. The ID.4 is an impressive effort by VW and has proven to be worth the wait. For TestDriveNow.com, I'm Steve Hammis.